Sorry about that. We are live. Right. Ingram is on his way. Just before I bring our co-host Ingram on to start this show, I just want to do a very, very quick introduction and a very, very quick bit of news. Let me just shut this door. Right. Mods are going to need to be on their game tonight because we're going to get trolls left, right, and center. So if you've got a wrench, you've got the wrench for a reason. Use it. Shoot to kill. If anybody comes in this chat, right, and starts saying, you've never been in the ring. If anybody brings up Frank Warren, which I suspect will have a lot. I think what tonight we're going to get of, what about Frank Warren? We're going to get a lot of that kind of stuff, yeah? Anybody trying to change subject, anybody trying to make it personal, seriously, shoot to kill, get rid, because we ain't got time for a joke, yeah? No time for a joke today. That's right, Samuel Harrison. If anybody mentions Promoters, yeah? You guys know about Promoters, the used car lot in Dagenham, Promoters. If anybody talks about where they got their full Fiesta from, Promoters, please give them a kick ASAP. In terms of the show next week, we've got some new people coming on. Now, let me say something. People are asking me, is there beef between you and Porky? Absolutely not. I haven't spoken to Porky in weeks and weeks and weeks. No problem. I've always wanted to get Riku on the show. So Riku hopefully will be coming on next week. I've always wanted to get Riku on the show. And in typical Ultra Tech fashion, I left it way too late. All right. So get Riku on. And the other thing I wanted to say before we bring Ingram in, before I set the show up, is also the last guy, the third guy and final guy that I'd like to come on is actually Kent. A few of you have been mentioning Kent, the hardcore's hardcore. This is an APB for Kent. Kent, if you're interested, if we get bigger numbers and it's worth your while, give me an email or drop me a link, Kent, because I'll be happy to get you on the show. So our three guys, yeah, mainly, right, is going to be myself, Ingram, and then occasionally we get Rico and Ken on as well. And those are the guys I want. And of course, my brother Shevin as well. Those are the guys I want in this channel. And those are pretty much the only guys you'll be seeing on here. To top it up at today's show, right, before I bring Ingram in, Ingram's in the lobby waiting to get let loose on this topic, right? Matchroom boxing, right? I believe we are now witnessing the decline of Matchroom boxing and possibly the end of Eddie. I think the end of Eddie Hearn being the be-all and end-all of promoters in certainly in British boxing. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's show. And we're going to start off by talking about his biggest star, Anthony Joshua, very, very quickly, where he will end up. And I'm going to ask Ingram a specific question about Anthony Joshua to start this off. So we're talking about why I think we're witnessing the decline. I think we're starting to see the end of Matchroom as a major force, or certainly the only force in British boxing. Let's bring in Ingram here. Ingram, how you doing?
Good evening, brother. How you doing?
Not too bad, thank you. Guys, if there's a problem with the chat or there's any echoes, let me know. Right, Ingram, lots to cover. I've actually got some notes. I'm trying to be semi-professional this week. We all know it ain't going to last, but let's give this a go. I want to start off by asking you a question. I got absolutely murdered for saying the following last week. I mean, I got people coming on this channel actually threatening to report me for what I'm about to say to you about Anthony Joshua, his resume, and where he will end up. All right. So before we talk about, and also let's say we'll talk. There's some big signings. Well, not big, but there's some good signings that have been made by Sky today. We'll talk about that shortly. Here's the question I want to ask you. Right. In 2015, right, I've got Anthony Joshua's resume up on the screen on BoxRec, right? And I want you to pay attention between 2015, the years 2015 to 2018, right, on this magical resume of Anthony Joshua. What I've said is the following. I've said from 2015-ish to 2018 that Anthony Joshua's biggest rival in boxing, Tyson Fury, was out of the sport, 400 pounds, failed a drugs test, and if rumors are believed to be true, suicidal, right? That's what I said. I've said that Matchroom, right, part of the reason why they're going through this downfall, and a small part of the reason why they may end up losing their biggest star away from Dazn and ending up on Sky is, I don't think they made the most of that 3-year gap when their biggest rival was out of the sport. And I've basically likened it to, imagine a situation if Errol Spence, for whatever reason, didn't box for 3 years and the division was wide open for Terence Crawford. and Terence Crawford ending up, defending his titles against, a bunch of less than AAA opposition. Before I bring you in, I just want to run this through you. 2015, he fought Dillian Whyte for the British title. I think we all know Dillian Whyte, when he fought for the British, was very, very green. And we all know Dillian Whyte needed shoulder surgery even before that fight. But if you look at this run of fights here, right? These aren't all bums, but I'm just saying, right? Biggest rival is out of boxing. You should be unifying, undisputed, cleaning out the division. Charles Martin, Dominic Brazil, Eric Molina, Vladimir Klitschko, great fight. Carlos Takam, Joseph Parker. Let's start by asking you the question, right? And just don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me your honest opinion. When I say that somebody somewhere, whether it's Anthony Joshua, his management, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, have made a huge mistake and a huge missed opportunity not to capitalize on those missed 3 years of Tyson Fury, what would you say?
Well, I always like to use history as an example. Evander Holyfield, when Mike Tyson was in prison, what did Evander Holyfield do? Let's pull up Evander Holyfield's record when Tyson was in prison and Tyson came out of prison. What did Evander Holyfield do during that time? And then we can use Anthony Joshua after that. I think let's use history, because that's a perfect example, because Tyson was Holyfield's rival, or Holyfield was Tyson's rival, whichever way you look at it. That was the fight the world wanted to see. That fight broke down. Tyson went to prison. Holyfield went on. I think he went to prison, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Tyson went to prison. Holyfield fought Buster Douglas. Did he not? Buster Douglas knocked out Buster Douglas. Became undisputed champion. Then he became undisputed champion. He made defenses against George Foreman. I think Larry Holmes.
Correct. It's you know more than
Burt Cooper. I'm going through my mind now. Burt Cooper. And then he went on and fought the guy that was there. There was Lennox Lewis that was around, and there was Riddick Bowe. And he went and fought Riddick Bowe. And that night it was I think the winner of Bowe and Lewis and Bowe and Holyfield were meant to fight Lennox Lewis.
Right.
Because Lennox Lewis fought for the right to be the right to fight, because he fought Razor Ruddock, knocked out Razor Ruddock, and then defended his title against Tony Tucker. So Holyfield was left. He got beat, didn't he, by Riddick Bowe?
Yes,
and then he went back and beat Bowe for the title.
Correct.
Got a rematch, beat Bowe for the title, and then he lost to Michael Moorer.
Yes.
So, in terms of Evander Holyfield, after he lost to Michael Moorer, and then he won the title. Then he won the title back from Michael Moorer, I believe. But I think in that time he did go on and fight Mike Tyson, didn't he? There you go. He went and fought Mike Tyson.
Look at that name in between. Ray Mercer as well. I mean, I don't know, but I haven't been following boxing as long as you. So Holyfield and Tyson 1990 is a little bit just before my prime. But look, Ray Mercer, serious
okay. Yeah. So Michael Moorer fight, that was the one where they said that Holyfield had something wrong with his heart, a hole in his heart. He came back. They said he got healed. He came back and fought Ray Mercer, and then he fought Riddick Bowe in a fight. That was a fight he dropped Riddick Bowe in, but then subsequently got knocked out in. Then he fought Bobby Cheers, looked absolutely horrible against Bobby Cheers, and that's why people said when he was going to fight Mike Tyson, Tyson was going to kill him. He went on and beat Mike Tyson, and of course then went back to try and unify and beat Michael Moorer, unified to fight Michael Moorer, and then he went on to fight Lennox Lewis for undisputed. So when you go on to Anthony Joshua, we have to also remember what Barry Hearn set the precedent for. Barry Hearn said that they had no interest in fighting Deontay Wilder until 2021 or 2022. So Deontay Wilder was on one side and Tyson Fury was, out in the wilderness. So the next biggest rival would have been Deontay Wilder. And we all know what happened there. Joshua didn't want to fight, or his management didn't want him to fight, or Barry Hearn didn't want him to fight Wilder. So instead of fighting Deontay Wilder, which he should have done, he then went on and fought everybody else that was around and seemed decent all around. Brazil was unbeaten, I believe, at the time he fought him. Charles Martin was also undefeated when he fought him. Dillian Whyte was Dillian Whyte undefeated when he fought him?
Yeah, he was.
He was injured. So let's keep going up the record. So we've got Brazil, Vladimir Klitschko, well, he'd come off the armchair, having not fought for 2 years, but it was the best Vladimir Klitschko, according to Adam Smith. I don't understand where Adam Smith was going with that, but anyway, leave him to that. Moving on. Then he fought, let's go down, fought Carlos Takam. Takam at the time was a good rated heavyweight. A lot of people rated Takam, although Povetkin laid him out. That was Povetkin, and that's another story altogether. You had the Joseph Parker fight. I think that was a unification bout. Was I right? Am I wrong about that?
That was no unification.
So that was a unification bout there. Okay. Then you fight Povetkin, a former world champion himself, and he was always in everyone's top 3. Povetkin, so he was a good fighter. And then there was a fight against Andy Ruiz, which was because of Hearn's ego rather than him fighting Trevor Bryant, because he could have fought Trevor Bryant at the time, didn't want to fight Trevor Bryant. So they went and fought Andy Ruiz, and we all know what happened from there. And that fight, as far as I'm concerned, has scarred Anthony Joshua's career. And and if he doesn't get rid of Usyk, it will be that Ruiz fight that people will go back to. So in terms of Anthony Joshua's career and answering your question, I think that he's fought some names there. In fact, all the names you mentioned there of Anthony Joshua are recognizable names. Yeah. Former world champions, number 1 contenders or top contenders, undefeated fighters. Eric Molina, he went in there and he gave it his best shot against Deontay Wilder at the time, and he hurt Wilder. But he's fought guys that I thought were decent and credible, and he should have fought with Deontay Wilder. He didn't. The difference between Joshua and Holyfield was a warrior, and he didn't care who he fought. It was about being the best, and he wanted to be number 1. I don't actually think that Anthony Joshua's management want him to be anywhere near Deontay Wilder, which means he could never say that he was truly number 1. Almost, we see when we used Carl Froch when he was out, when Andre Ward was out, and he was considered number 1. At least Froch tried to fight guys that out there, try to fight the best guys out there.
Yeah.
So, in terms of Joshua, knowing the history of Barry Hearn and this situation with Wilder, and he himself, I heard all the BS about, Wilder didn't want it. That situation right there, Barry said it himself, and he's the guy that I think pulls the string at Matchroom, not Eddie. I think Eddie's the
I've always thought that. Yeah,
he pulls the strings, and he basically said, no, don't want any part of it whatsoever. And as for Charles Martin, any man who comes into arena eating pot noodle, that belt's been bought.
Jesus,
my man came to ring eating pot noodle. I don't business. He's eating pot noodle.
This man came out with a Burger King crown in his head after eating a pot noodle. Dudes was paying $19.99 on pay-per-view for that. I will give that a miss. Okay, yeah. So, from my perspective, like I said, I think AJ himself would have taken the fights. It's not a problem. But I'm just saying, I think it's a big, big, big missed opportunity. Again, obviously, the obvious one in there is this is the fight where they tried to make AJ star in the US, and obviously Andy Ruiz knocked him out, so that was the end of that. So, it's not to shit on Anthony Joshua, right, per se. No, it's all right. It's not to shit on Anthony Joshua per se. But I'm just thinking right now, right, I'm Anthony Joshua, right? This guy, if I'm Anthony Joshua, every single day I wake up in bed, the first thing I'm thinking in the morning is, how the fuck did I allow a 400-pound gypsy who was basically cancelled by society? Don't forget, Fury had paparazzi and all papers on his door looking to permanently cancel him for some very, very questionable remarks that he'd made, in the past that we weren't going to now. So he had most of the media against him, 400-pound, failed a drugs test, absolutely lit up on cocaine and pissed as a fart. Who remembers when England were at the European Championships and Fury was out there? Pissed up with the fans, 400 pounds. The guy was a complete slob. If I'm Anthony Joshua, I'm asking, how on earth did I go from being the biggest boxer in Britain by far, the biggest ticket seller in Britain by far, the most marketable fighter in Britain so far, and a world champion, with my rival out of the sport, having failed a drugs test, looking like he might never, ever return to the sport. In less than 2 years, Anthony Joshua went from the position of strength to now he's not recognized by any meaningful organization as the number 1 heavyweight in the world. And I'm not saying that's Anthony Joshua's fault. I don't think it's Anthony Joshua's fault. But what I'm looking at is, if I'm Anthony Joshua, I have to look at my management, I have to look at Matchroom, I have to look at somebody and I have to ask, how was that allowed to happen? And I want to factor into his decision. Go for it.
Because, first and foremost, I'm sorry that Matchroom are a bunch of accountants. Yes, they're good at that. And they're very good at illusions, making something look better than it actually is. And Eddie's done a lot of papering over the cracks. I mean, why is it that up to this day, Dillian Whyte still has not got a world title shot? Okay? The fact with Anthony Joshua is, as well I look at it, is he was the heavyweight champion of the world. He was making a lot of money in the UK, and a lot of people were getting paid. And remember this, Anthony Joshua is a brand. That's the difference. He's a brand. So remember, they made Anthony Joshua the event. And when you make Anthony Joshua the event, it doesn't matter about fighting the best in the world. It just makes sense putting bums on seats and entertaining, and it's the Anthony Joshua. So all the corporate people come out. You know, people don't know nothing about boxing, pissed us apart, go and watch Anthony Joshua fight, and they don't really care. They're just going out for a good night because Eddie sent them some free tickets, and business and partnerships going well, and investment from the Saudis as well. That's where it went with Anthony Joshua. It was about pay-per-view, selling out 90,000, doing this, doing that, but not really, and leading the fans merry dance, because in the background you knew what Dazn said. We don't want nothing to do with Wilder. And Wilder was the guy he should have fought to unify the division. Had he done that, then we might be looking at Anthony Joshua, undisputed champion. Instead, he went and fought Fat Boy Ruiz, and we all know what happened there.
I think that was probably, I'm not going to talk too much about Matchroom USA, maybe because there's not really much to talk about. I think it's fair to say now that Matchroom USA is absolutely dead in the water. I mean, we'll go through Matchroom's schedule in a little bit, but I'll just put it up on the screen very quickly. I mean, you can see like they don't have any real events in the US. I think, would you agree with me? And would everybody in the chat agree with us as well? Yeah, that Matchroom in the USA are absolutely dead in the water. And that's not me being a hater. That's me looking at the schedule. That's me looking up the shows. I think even Frank Smith said they've basically sharp shop now on America for the rest of the year. I mean, you know, they claimed they were going to sign Errol Spence and Gervonta Davis, and they ended up delivering they legitimately delivered Tommy Coyle. But Ingram, I had people sending me death threats about this, saying,
Listen,
you're a hater.
Listen.
What? Go on. No, you go jump in.
Listen, remember when Eddie said, he said that they were coming to America to dominate and they were going to take over America. I knew that was bullshit from the absolute start. You think men like Bob Arum and Lou DiBella and you think Al Heyman are going to let people, a man like Eddie's going to come over and dominate America? Eddie didn't. The problem with Eddie is that he didn't do his research about the American public. He did do his research, and the people he was talking at, you know, apples and pears in England, that's fine. But you have to, when you come abroad, you have to be able to adapt. And he took that same garbage from England, took it to America, and at first people were listening to going, oh, Eddie Hearn, all right, let's see what he's about. But then people think, oh, hold on a second, like, let's watch this guy. Sat back, and then of course the big guy they brought from England, which was Joshua, he was the big guy. So they brought him over to see this big heavyweight they're talking about fall down 4 or 5 times. So that
was brutal, by the way.
Right there was the turning of the tide. And then Joshua never came back to America. What he should have done, he should have come back to America and beaten Ruiz back in America. That's what he should have done. At least when Lennox Lewis got sparked by Hasim Rahman, what did he do? He got Rahman back in the ring in America, and he knocked out Rahman spectacularly. And that made the Americans look and go, damn.
Yeah. Lewis was the underdog big time in that fight. They all thought he was going to get him. All boxing journalists went against him, he was done.
So, as far as I'm concerned, when you talk about Matchroom, and people can say I'm a hater and all the rest of it, but ultimately, their accountants, they know at the end of the day that Matchroom, when they came to America, what they should have done is Eddie talks too damn much. He should have kept his mouth shut and sort of like gone about his business, building partnership and friendships, understanding the American, thing, and maybe put a couple of shows on over there and make a few things happen and build partnerships and rub shoulders with the right people and not rub people up the wrong by saying we're going to come and take over America. If you had done all of that stuff, it wouldn't have been so bad. Because you never hear Frank Warren talk about, I'm coming to America, I'm going to take over America. And Frank, in terms of achievements and in terms of taking guys to America and doing things in America, has been far more successful than Eddie. Do you understand?
Look at Nazim Hamid in America.
No, that's it.
One. I'm just saying. I believe Eddie Hearn is the best promoter in the UK right now. But I'm just saying. You talk about records in America. One promoter delivered Nazim Hamid, and the other one delivered Tommy Cole. I'm just telling you, I'm just telling you. There's levels to the game. I mean, one person legitimately went and delivered Tommy Cole. I mean, what I was going to say about that is, it's interesting how Eddie said that, a year and a half. I still haven't got my apologies, by the way, from those people who said I was wrong and that Dazn was going to take over. But he said Showtime were going to be out of business. I think you guys all remember that. Eddie Hearn.
Wait. Eddie, I interviewed Eddie, and when I interviewed Eddie, he said that Al Heyman couldn't come to America and get a TV deal. And he did get a TV deal, and he brought us Thurman versus... Which fight did he give us? He gave us...
oh my God. Was it Thurman and Pacquiao? I'm pretty sure he brought Thurman and Pacquiao. I'm pretty sure that was on ITV. I'm pretty sure it was. Hold on.
He brought Spence versus Mikey Garcia.
Yeah, I watched that. That was definitely on ITV.
That was on ITV. Thurman fought that. Thurman fought on ITV.
There you go. Proven, yeah. Look at the screen. ITV box office to show Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman.
Look at that.
Look
at that. You know what I mean? So, and Eddie has said in an interview that that couldn't happen.
It's interesting. Showtime. What I was going to say about Showtime is, and I know, deep down we're not all fans of YouTube boxing, but Eddie Hearn said Showtime are going to be out of boxing, right? You can see for you guys who think I'm joking, you can see the actual video on the screen now. Showtime will leave boxing in 12 months. They have a very limited future. Well, that was over like 2 to 3 years ago. But not only that, ironically, Showtime actually had one of the biggest draws in boxing, because whether people like it or not, Jake Paul is one of the biggest draws in boxing. That's just the bottom line of it. Like, if you look at the kind of opponents they're talking about Conor McGregor as a possible opponent. I mean, whether you like the guy or not, Jake Paul is one of the biggest draws in boxing. He's with Heyman and Showtime. But you think, go on.
Jake Paul did exactly what I said almost a year and a half to 2 years ago when I said boxing will get to a point where it's not about just having gloves will fight. You have to have personality. You have to be able to command a presence. And that's what happened. These contracts start getting cut. People like Michael Hunter, very good boxer, but when it comes to personality, zero, and doesn't want to do anything to come out of that. I'm a boxer, I will fight anybody. You've got to do a bit more than that. You've got to have some sort of personality. And that's boxing. And that's why I commend someone like Jake Paul, because he's exposing boxers for just having very dull personalities. And I can't fight anybody in the world. So what? Everybody wants to fight anybody in the world. Bottom line, you've got to have something that sells. And if you have no personality and you've got no selling point, then that's why I commend Jake Paul. Because he's shown what boxers should have been doing. And Jake Paul's come in and done it with a limited boxing background. So, yeah, fair play to him.
Tell you what, now we're going to move on to the main story for today. So we've spoken about the first 2 reasons, basically, or the first 2 reasons why. By the way, we both agree, right? For Dazn to do anything in the UK in their current situation, have to sign Anthony Joshua after the Usyk fight, and they need football. For me, if they can't get either one, I would say football's more important. I would say that's pretty much the end of them. But my points, what I'm saying is, I think the start of Matchroom, the start of the decline in Matchroom, in my opinion, actually started around 2017 time. Between that 2015 to 2018 period, Anthony Joshua had beaten Vladimir Klitschko, one of the best fights I'd ever seen. I paid for it on pay-per-view. I loved the fight. I enjoyed the fight. Platform was there to make Anthony Joshua undisputed, huge, potentially huge star, not only in the UK, but in the US. And for me, again, I think down to management, Matchroom, and some other people, ended up with defenses against Eric Molina, Dominic Brazil, Carlos Takam, and the air was completely taken out of him. We've also spoken about, obviously, the failed operation in the US. We all know Matchroom USA now is pretty much dead as a dodo. But now I want to move on to what's going on in the UK, because Eddie Hearn, right, it seems that people have forgotten a lot about the Matchroom USA thing, you know, because don't forget, he was telling people basically he was going to move and take over America. Well, actually, what's happened in the last year, from what I've seen, is that he's kind of been sent back from America running with his tail between his legs. And he's now back in the UK, right, back at home. But I think he's got big problems at home because it appears I was wrong. It appears me calling the death of Sky Sports Boxing was actually a little bit too premature. Now, today, Sky have picked up another bunch of fighters, including Josh Kelly, who we'll talk about in a second, who I am a big fan of. I've just got the schedule up on the screen, Ingram, here, yeah? I don't know if you can see it. I'll just zoom in a bit. I've just got the schedule here for some of the fights that are on Sky Sports box office now. And I want to sort of run through you with this quickly. I'm going to ask you who you think's got the strongest stable and the strongest schedule going forward. So, obviously, you know, in 9 days' time, we've got Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. If that channel is still up, if this channel is still up by then, we're going to be going absolutely all out. Hopefully, me and Ingram will be doing your post-fight review for that. I've got Rico also coming in around about that week as well. So, guys, if you're there, hit subscribe. Don't miss that. If you look here, they've also got, and don't forget, this is the start of a new era. Lawrence Okole, you know, he could put a glass eye to sleep, but still he's defending his WBO title. He could, couldn't he? Lawrence Okole about as potent as a half litre of night nurse, but that's a different story. And then you've got Chris Eubanks Jr., who for some reason, some people are still obsessed with. He's in there. Then you've got David Avanesian, who, you know, like I said before, he's not an elite level welterweight, but for me, it's one of the very best out there. Some of the other fighters there, you've got Savannah Marshall. And again, we'll talk about her in a second because it looks like Sky, I reckon, are going to be doing some quite big fights in women's boxing. But if you look at that schedule going forward, you've got your old mate, DQB Fury. If you look at right, and if you look at what Matchroom, I'm just going to quickly remind people of what Matchroom are delivering on Sky. Matchroom's next dates are, this is Joshua and Usyk. Obviously, they're involved in that, but that won't be on the zone. And then they've got Scardinia and Oberstein. Nobody knows who those two are. And then, of course, you've got the Battle of the MS Bank Arena.
Of course,
right? Oh, Jesus Christ. Domestic dust-up, Smith and Fowler.
Yes, can't wait for that. On the same night that Fury fights Wilder. Come on.
Listen, never underestimate the power of the cult of Matchroom. I'm willing to bet you there'll be people out there that I can find on the internet who are going to sit there and tell me that Smith and Fowler is a better fight than Wilder and Fury. I promise you. I will find people out there. There will be people that say that. But yes, this does look suicidal.
What they will tell you is that they'll tell you we've seen that fight before. Why do we want to see it again? That's what they'll tell you.
Yeah. Like anybody wants to see Liam Beefy Smith. Liam Beefy Smith, where the fuck was he? Last seen on a webcam somewhere on the MTK YouTube channel. All of a sudden now he's a big star on Matchroom. So have a look at this quick undercard. Your mate Ryan Charlton's on there. He's fighting Luke Willis. Ryan Charlton, probably one of the most shape and ripped chefs you probably ever see anywhere. Shannon Courtney. There you go. It's the return of Shannon Courtney, aka Shirley from EastEnders. She's back with a locked Twitter account. Yeah. So she doesn't start making any dodgy comments about ethnic minorities again. So they've got her Twitter account nice and locked up there. The return of Shirley from EastEnders. We've got Peter McGrail versus TBA. So that's nice and see. We've got to see Peter McGrail's fighting in 3 weeks' time. You don't know his opponent, but it's his debut fight. So, you know, Solomon Dakarez and Kamil Solikowski, not a bad fight. We know that Solikowski probably did enough to beat Adele. I don't think it was as bad as what people thought. Kieran Conway, and then, oh my gosh, then you've got Ted Cheeseman, of course. You know, body of a 27-year-old, brain of a 77-year-old. Up against Darlington's finest. I love this man, Troy the Trojan.
I like him.
Yes, the fucking Trojan. Like, Trojan absolutely does him in, but I think Cheeseman probably will be a bit much. Ingram, who do you think's got the better stable? Who do you think's got the better prospects going into the future right now? Be honest. Who would you rather be? Would you rather be in Sky Sports' position with who they've got, Wasserman, or would you rather be in Dazn's position with what they've got from Matchroom right now?
Well, it's Dead Zone, isn't it? What has Dead Zone got on their platform? I think being Sky.
Look, keep talking. I'm gonna have a look at what they got. Sorry.
You got Sky. You got Dazn. It's Dead Zone. It's what it is. People are gonna watch Sky Sports, aren't they? Although Sky, is Dylan White's fighting on Dazn, isn't he?
Is he?
I believe he is. I believe he's fighting Dazn.
Areola.
No, I heard it might be Michael Hook for the European title.
Fuck off, Ingram. No, you're lying.
Yeah,
He's not fighting Marco Hook for a European.
That's what I heard. I did hear that in the grapevine.
The can man. Nah, the can man himself.
I was asking, why the hell is this guy not fighting Trevor Bryant for the WBA title? I don't understand. By the way, I just thought I'd just break some news. Bryant Jennings and Oscar Rivas are going to fight for the WBC Bridgerweight title soon. So that's the first Bridgerweight fight.
For the Bridgerweight as well. That's a very good fight. Oscar Rivas versus Bryant Jennings. Yes, sir.
The rematch.
Yes, sir. Very, very good fight. Let me just quickly ask you there. You threw me off there. So hold on a minute. England's breaking an exclusive here. We think there's a reason to believe that Dillian Whyte might not 100% happen, but let's just say he's in talks to fight Captain Hook. But is this the same Dillian? Is this his twin brother Dean, or is this the same Dillian that was on IFL TV about 2 months ago, saying the WBC need to make Tyson Fury the champion in recess so that he can be the full champion, so that he could go and fight Wilder, and then the winner of that goes and fights AJ. That's what he was saying, and then he ends up fighting Captain Hook.
What you do? If I'm Dillian Whyte, you just wait and see if Tyson's actually going to turn up and fight.
Jesus Christ!
If he's actually going to turn up and fight Wilder, if he don't turn up and fight Wilder, then that fight should be ordered immediately. Dillian Whyte versus Deontay Wilder, and that's the end of that. That will be the end of that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. No, go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go on.
But that was it. That's what I was thinking. So I don't know why he's fighting for a European title against Marco Hook. I've no idea. If you're WBC interim champion, how the hell are you fighting for a European title? That's like a backward step, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Joe Wells says makes sense because Hook must be around 40 years old. Do you know? I don't want to be too. I don't want to be too dirty because it's not before prime time. But like I said before, Dillian Whyte does like them a bit older. I reckon if you look into his Pornhub account, you probably see grannies all over the place. You certainly wouldn't have to worry about seeing somebody in any kind of age because he certainly likes them 40 and above. After we spent years criticising Deontay Wilder for fighting Luis Ortiz twice, isn't it? Strange that, isn't it? Well, there you go. Right.
Well, there you go.
Let's have a quick look at this. You said that it's dead zone, isn't it? But can I interest you in this, Ingram, for $7.99 a month? So we've got those fights, and then we've got the DAZN boxing show with AK and Barack. You get that for $7.99. Yep. And then I get El Presidente. This is the story of Ronaldo, being now the president of a football club in Brazil. I've forgotten the name, so I'm not going to say it. And then you've got, what's this, documentaries and features, and you also get classic fights. I've heard people have been coming to me recently, right, getting a bit of buyer's remorse, right? They've been saying, Ultra, I've just paid $7.99 for DAZN, but all these classic fights, I can already go and watch them for free on YouTube. So, yeah. That's what all the fights that they're sharing on DAZN, all these classic fights, they're fights that I can already go and see on YouTube for free. See, this is pretty vague, isn't it? You've got two fights here. Look, this is supposed to be, the premier boxing channel in the UK. They're giving me two fights here, and then I'm not getting anything else. There you go. So that's your opinion. Sky's the way to go. Sky. I was wrong about
remember what the Hearn said. They said that boxing fans are mugs.
Well, that's true.
When they put crap up like this,
there's always going to be a buyer. You're right. You can never underestimate how strong the goal is. You can never underestimate how strong the goal is. It is what it is. I'm looking at this stable here from thing. Let's talk about this. Look, so Josh Kelly's gone to. I would say he's the signing of the day for Sky. They've signed Harlem Eubank as well. And Nathan Gorman. Quick word on Nathan Gorman. How big of a signing do you think Nathan Gorman is for Sky? What do you think they can do with him in their stable? Very quickly. Because no one really cares about Nathan Gorman, but I just thought I'd ask. Because he's an interesting fighter.
I would like to see him fight David Adelaide as soon as possible.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Do you know what? I have a funny, I don't know. I wonder if some of Frank's fighters are going to end up on there. I'd like to see him fight Daniel Dubois, but I think Daniel Dubois is a little bit past that now in the route. But I would have loved to see. Oh, sorry, excuse me. We've seen Gorman and Dubois. I was thinking of a Dalian Gorman, so I agree with you. Yeah, okay, a Dalian Gorman.
I remember him.
I'll pick Gorman in that. I'll pick Gorman.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
Adelaide. Now I met him when I was in camp with Huey Fury preparing to fight Sam Sexton for the British title.
Yes.
And,
Jesus,
and Adeyeye was sparring with Huey Fury in Orleans. So I got to see what he was about. And Adeyeye is almost, I hate to say, but he the way he comes across and speaks is like the second coming of Audley Harrison. You know, he's saying some things, and he's making some statements that his boxing ability isn't backing up what he's saying. You know, so he needs to be very careful. He needs to be very careful because the fight against Sokolovsky wasn't impressive, and the guy he fought the other day, he wasn't impressive there as well. So he's still looking to throw big overhand rights. He looks very green. And I wouldn't want to see him fight Gorman because Gorman could well take him to school.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely too early for that. I was looking at the story here. So Josh Kelly, Nathan Gorman, and Harlem Eubank have signed promotional deals with Wazerman. Josh Kelly's getting a lot of heat right now from the cult of Matchroom all over on Boxing Social and TV.
Why?
But they're calling him a bum, and they're saying that Eddie Hearn didn't want him and that he surplus to requirements.
Now, the thing was, Josh Kelly was in my opinion, was overrated. And Ray Robinson, a very good friend of the show of BWTN Sports, exposed him for what he actually is. A box of tricks, and Adam Booth is responsible for that. Adam Booth turned around and said that he's the most talented fighter he's ever worked with. And that's an outright lie. I mean, if he's saying that Josh Kelly's more talented than David Hay, he's lying. If he's saying he's more talented than George Grove, he's bloody lying. If he's saying he's more talented than Mike Perez, he's lying. There's no way that Josh Kelly is more talented than David Hay or George Groves. Never. No way.
Just before we talk about Adam Booth in a sec, I just want to ask about Josh Kelly's resume, right? And here's my point of view on Josh Kelly. I actually like the guy. I think the guy's very, very talented, very, very talented boxer. But again, we're going to talk about the way he was managed and handled by Matchroom, because we're going to start talking. I've got a list of names to give you, on young stars, because point 3 that we're going to make today about the downfall of Matchroom comes from a topic that we've spoken about quite a few times on this show. They haven't really failed to bring, they haven't really brought through any real young stars, basically in the last decade.
Their matchmaking is shocking.
Well,
that's I've always said it. Their matchmaking has been absolutely shocking. And Fast Car Eddie and that mentality, and I said it, and I got a lot of heat for it. But you think about all those guys that came through that next gen. That was at Bethnal Green. How many of those guys actually went on and did great things?
Well, don't jump the gun because I've got the names here. But let's just talk about Josh Kelly and the way he was managed, right? David Avenesiu is a serious operator, right? Went to Spain and beat Kerman Laraji. He was very, very highly rated at the time, right? Let's have a look at this. Have a look at his resume. Just all you need to do is look at the last 2 fights. He went, from fighting Weston Campos in the Talking Stick Resort Arena in Phoenix on a Matchroom USA card near you, one of those famous Matchroom USA cards, right? He went from fighting Weston Campos in 2019, and nearly a year and a half to 18 months later, he was then thrown to the wolves in a fight with David Avenesian.
Do you know why?
The same David Avenesian that the next global superstar of boxing, Conor Benn, they won't let Conor Benn anywhere near David Avenesian, but they threw.
You know why?
Well, we know why, but they threw Josh Kelly at him. And I just want to say something here. Josh Kelly, I think, is a very, very marketable guy. I think he's actually quite exciting to watch because he's got a lot of flair about him. He's a good-looking guy, and I think he speaks very well of himself. And I've always said, I think used correctly, I'm not saying he's going to be a pay-per-view, although, not pay-per-view star, but I think there's definitely some untapped potential there. But I just want to get your views there on how Josh Kelly was allowed to, in 18 months, go from a fight with Weston Campos to a fight with David Avenesian. To me, very
simple. Very simple. These are the sort of lines or sort of words you're going to hear behind closed doors. You have to take this fight. We've invested in you. We need to see what you're about. It's time for you to step up. It's time for you to dare to be great. You know, you wanted us to deliver for you. Now we're going to deliver for you. If you want me to continue promoting for you, you're going to have to beat the guys like David here. Or, you know, Adam Booth's been talking a lot about you. Now you've got time for you to deliver. You know, Adam Booth said you look cracking, brilliant in the gym. You look great in the gym. You look fantastic on the pads. Now it's time to prove yourself. Or, you know what? You've been on a contract. You've been on the books for X amount of years. I have to deliver for you. That's what it is. And if I can't deliver for you, then what's the point? Take this fight, and if you do well in this fight, you'll get yourself a world title shot. If not, then it's down to you. That's what it is. That's the way of getting them off your books real quickly. Delivering on that. Well, I can't deliver on a world title shot for you if you can't beat the European champion. And that's how it works. That's how you get a person off the books real quickly.
I actually thought for the first couple of rounds, right? I thought that Josh Kelly did very well against Avanesian. I mean, just couldn't handle the pace. I mean, Avanesian sets a frantic pace. And when you get in with a ring with a guy like Avanesian, you know, I mean, Smart Surf TV saying it's about levels. Yeah, I agree, it's about levels as well. And
but listen,
it's all about rust. Kelly had 18 months. You don't go from boxing Winston Campos and then 18 months later you get in the ring with one of the most ferocious pace setters, right?
Okay,
but
hold on. You got the great Adam Booth that a lot of people in the UK think is like the savior of British boxing. If anything is a problem, ask Adam Booth. Right, Adam Booth, get Booth in there.
Oh,
so Adam went through Adam Booth. That definitely went through Adam Booth. And the second thing, Josh Kelly, you put a double jab on Josh Kelly, you back him to ropes. He doesn't know what to do. Josh Kelly has got a non-existent defense, non-existent.
Yeah.
And in fights, if he's got one gear of fighting, and that is it, one gear fighting. And if he can't get you out of there, he runs out of ideas. You saw it in the Ray Robinson fight. Ray Robinson, pardon my French, beat the shit out of Josh Kelly. And at that point, the whole Matchroom think tank should have said, all right, we need to slow this guy down. He got away with that fight of Ray Robinson. We need to slow this guy down, and we need to take him to America or get him a trainer that's going to give him more than just flash in the pan stuff. We need to give him real boxing fundamentals, not to sit on the ropes and get hit with 10 punches and think he's Roy Jones Jr. What is Roy Josh Kelly? Is he a boxer? Is he a puncher? Is he a slickster? What is Josh Kelly's style? Because he seems confused to me. And go ahead.
Doug, I think one of my biggest criticisms of Adam Booth, well, quickly before we move on to this list of fighters I've got for you, is his fighters. He does like to train his fighters to fight hands down in the pocket and all.
The same way.
This has been a thing across his fights. And if you look at Michael Conlan, right, who I believe is actually going to be fighting for a world title against Lee Wood. Has he been mandated? I believe Michael Conlan's been ordered to fight Lee Wood. Michael Conlan is somebody who, again, he's in the pocket, he's fighting hands down. Josh Kelly is somebody, again, he's fighting in the pocket, he's fighting hands down. Adam Booth also had Harder Newbag in the pocket fighting with his hands down. Like, I don't know how these fighters
But remember, the two guys he had great success with, Groves and Hay, had decorated amateur backgrounds and both had good fast hands and could both punch.
They were elite athletes, period.
Right, but they could punch. They could punch.
Yeah,
I mean,
George was boxing grown men at 12, 13.
Right.
Boxing with grown men at 12 and 13. Grown men.
So you can't. Josh Kelly hasn't got those. He hasn't got that sort of punching power. One, and he doesn't have the. I don't think he's got the intangibles to sit in the pocket and trade off. I don't think he's. Some guys can do that. I just don't think he's that type of guy. He's that type of guy that's going to make you miss and make you pay. But he's not one of the type of guys who sit in the pocket.
Just agreeing with Kazim. I actually think Josh Kelly did quite well in the first few rounds against the Avenese, but that's just my opinion. Right, let me give you some names here, right?
But all right, wait. Let me go back to that guy who's got that. But didn't Frank Bruno wobble Tyson in the first round? What happened to Bruno at the end of the fight? His head got whipped off his shoulders.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but he still did well. He still did well in the first couple of rounds. He rocked him heavy. Bruno.
Oh yeah.
Just out of interest, do you think Bruno could have ever done something about that? Do you think there was almost a thing of, oh fuck, I can't believe it type thing from Bruno? It's like he almost couldn't believe he hurt him that bad, or do you think not?
I think Bruno's fighting scared. He was fighting. He was fighting. Bruno never came out there to fight Tyson with the intention of beating Mike Tyson. He came out and fought Mike Tyson scared. And when you're fighting scared and you throw punches, I won't say a lucky punch. You land a punch that buzzes a fighter. You're spending so much time worrying about your own life. You haven't got time to worry about taking somebody else out. If you look at Bruno when he fought guys he knew he could knock over, like guys like Joe Bugner and Revolta and all them type of guys, lower level fighters, Bruno got the knockouts because he'd get a guy and he'd steam into them. When he fought Lennox Lewis and when he fought Mike Tyson, he got him with a shot, but could never follow up and finish those guys off. At the top level, Bruno couldn't finish any top level fighters off. And I think some of the time was because he actually was nervous and was concerned about his own well-being when he fought at top level. That was just my feelings. I mean, when he fought Tyson in the rematch, I think he must have done the cross about 24 times before he got in the ring and fought Mike. So he was terrified of Mike Tyson, and it was a lot of talk and a lot of hype, but he was scared of Mike.
But I'm going to run some names off. All right, I'm going to run some names off. Let me get my Matchroom next thing up on the screen. I'm going to run some names off. What we're going to talk about here is this, right? So we're going to talk about Matchroom's, in my opinion, because I'm a hater, Matchroom's inability to build any young talent. I'm going to give you the names of some of these stars, right? These are young stars that I think most, if not all of these, we've seen on next-gen cards, touted as the next biggest thing or potentially the next biggest thing in boxing. And we're going to have a look at their careers. I want to throw a curveball at you. I want to start off with Joe Cordina. I think he's one of the most talented fighters.
I do too. Yes.
I think the way that his career has been managed is an absolute disgrace. Has anybody seen or heard from Joe Cordina? Your thoughts on Joe Cordina? Let me get his resume up here, but your thoughts on Joe Cordina?
Joe Cordina needs to leave as soon as possible.
Jesus Christ, I'm just looking at his record. He's going to be seen. Let's have a look. Joe Cordina has had 2 fights since 2019, right? Against names that I can't even pronounce, Joshua Hernandez and Faruko Kurbanov. This guy's one of the best talents, yeah? Had a very, very good amateur record. In fact, I actually know somebody from my gym, or someone who was actually in my gym, who actually fought Joe Cordina in the junior amateurs, actually. I think they claim they got a draw with him, but I don't right. But they fought him at least, actually, so they know him.
Yeah.
I know someone who used to box at that level. Speaks very highly of him. So if you look at that, Joe Cordina, 2 fights in 2 years, right? For me, in my opinion, I'm just being real. The way he's been managed, I think he could be the very, very best young talent we have in this country. Dreadfully managed. Let's go on to this guy, your favourite, Ingram. I'm going to get his resume out first before I spoil a surprise for you. But I just want to show you this guy one more time. We've already spoken about him. Shaman Joshua Baratsi. Just want to have a look at this man. 4 years ago, this man was signed by Matchroom after being the Olympic bronze medalist, right? There was talk, Eddie Hearn has said, and I can't find a video because I don't want to get done for copyright, but he did say, if we don't make this man the undisputed light heavyweight champion, then something's gone wrong. We haven't done our job.
Something's already gone wrong because they're not making. He's not undisputed. He's never going to be undisputed light heavyweight champion. No chance. Sorry.
Let's just run through quickly this. I'm going to quickly run through this list of names. This is Joshua Baratsi, Olympic bronze medalist and one of the most talented fighters we have in this country. This is who he's been fed, right? In the last 4 years. Carlos Mena, Baptiste Castanagro, Sadio Hall, Jordan Joseph, Bartolomeu Grafica, Stefan Cuevas, Andreas Pokumenko, Tony Avalan, former Anthony Yard victim, Reynold Quinlan, former victim of KFC, Burger King, and also famous victim of Chris Eubank Jr. on an ITV pay-per-view somewhere near you. That actually happened, and people did fucking pay for that. And yes, I know. By the way, Ingram, that was the famous night, right? That was the famous night on Ultratech Sports when people were paying like 15, 20 quid for Chris Eubank versus Ronald Quinlan. I told them not to, and then there was a big fucking fuck up at ITV box office, and after Carl was ended up black or in the darkness. I think it was for Sky viewers. Sky viewers had problems viewing ITV's box office, so that was that. But let's finish off these names. This is who's been fed to the great Lord Joshua Baratsi. Liam Conroy, who fair plays Joshua Baratsi. I think he paid for Liam Conroy's medical bills after he had a serious problem. So Joshua Baratsi, very good guy for doing that. Marco Antonio Periban, possibly a famous Gennady Golovkin victim. Ryan Ford, who he basically, it says he KO'd him. I think he KO'd Ryan Ford's nutsack by the looks of that. Right? Marco Kalic, Daniel Blend. Who is this? Daniel Blender dos Santos. Where do they find these people? I mean, he sounds like a brand of orange. He sounds like the man from Del Monte. He sounds like a brand of orange juice.
Yellow Pages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the yellow pages of tomato cans, and then finally, right, Ricard's Bolotniks.
I thought it was a good fight. The Bolotnik fight, I thought was a good fight.
Right. Okay. So, what do you think of that opposite? This man was the Olympic bronze medalist 4 years ago. This is who he's been fed. What do you think about the progression?
Let me ask you a question. Let me flip it back on you. Who have you seen Matchroom bring through from what is the Matchroom blueprint of success?
Well, hold on. I'll get to that in a sec. Let me read you out some more names then. Right, we've done Josh Kelly. We've done Josh Kelly. He's left, right, and they're now saying Lewis Ritson, piss in blood, right? Geordie Golovkin, piss in blood. He's been beaten from pillar to post. Even the referee couldn't save Lewis Ritson, chucking the towel back out of the ring, and he still took a beating. Terrible. Anthony Fowler, already been dropped by Scott Fitzgerald, and most people actually have him down to get beaten by Liam Smith. They think that one's a little bit too early. Cheeseman, we've all joked about. Courtney Shirley from EastEnders. Jordan Gill, remember Jordan Gill?
Yeah, I remember they were hyping him up so much, and he had diarrhea or something.
That's correct, yeah. Jordan Gill, the next biggest thing in boxing until he was defeated by a dodgy chicken korma about a couple of days out from the fight. That's what they actually believe. Apparently, it was all the chicken madras's fault. Nothing to do with the opponent. I'll give you another name. This one. Remember the next Roberto Duran, aka Reece Bellotti. Remember this guy? Do you know what? Ryan Walsh was a big friend of this show. I used to speak to Ryan Walsh.
I like Ryan Walsh. I used to like Liam Walsh. I love Liam Walsh.
No, yeah, I used to speak to him personally on Twitter because Liam doesn't have a Twitter account. If anybody knows a Twitter account for Ryan Walsh, can somebody send me his handle? I looked for it the other day because I'm back on Twitter. But yeah, I used to speak to Ryan Walsh personally all the time. He beat Reece Bellotti. He was laughing his head off, by the way, because they brought Ryan Walsh in to get beat by Reece Bellotti, and I think Ryan went in and did a job on him. And the other one, remember this one? Remember this famous card? Let me get this card's so good. Let me just get this card up on the screen because this is how good this card was. Because I know we all like a bit of black on black crime on this show. Certainly Barry Hearn does. Remember this? Do you remember this bullshit? So
you know what?
British beef starring Isaac Chamberlain. British beef.
Do you know what? I actually think, and I'm going to say here, I think this guy's going to go on to be a world champion, Isaac Chamberlain, if he stays in boxing. And people laugh at me, but I think he's going to be a grafter. I think he'll get a version of a world title. I'm telling you now.
Very highly rated, and he fought Wadi Camacho with his shoulder hanging out, and he beat him.
The guy's got heart. I think he'll do well.
He fought with a dislocated shoulder, and he actually beat Wadi Camacho with one hand. I'll just say, just for those guys who remember, I call this pay-per-view, instead of British beef, I always call it corned beef. And there's Eddie Hearn in the middle there. He told you guys this was going to be a great domestic dust-up. Probably one of the worst main events ever seen on the shores of Great Britain. So, yeah, Isaac Chamberlain ended up leaving as well. I think he ended up signing up with Mick Hennessy after turning down a deal from Al Heyman. So those are the names. I will ask you a question, Ingram, but I want to ask you something else. I want to ask you about women's boxing quickly. I want to ask you quickly about Saint Katie Taylor. No. Just quickly, a little bit of news has come out. Well, it involves your favourite, Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano is working with Jake Paul moving forward. She's going to be working with Jake Paul and Jake Paul's promotions moving forward. So her managers,
that's a good move.
Her managers, Lou DiBella, they've got into agreement with Jake Paul, who's obviously under the Al Heyman banner. So it looks like Serrano will be fighting on Jake Paul's fights going forward. Hopefully, which means she'll get paid well. She'll get some decent pay, and she'll get some eyes on her. Now, Jake Paul's come out today. Hold on, let me say. Jake Paul's come out today, and he said, right, they want to work towards making Serrano and Katie Taylor. My question to you is this: if you're Katie Taylor, why on earth would you stay on DAZN and do the Serrano fight on DAZN with nobody watching? Wouldn't it make sense if you're Katie Taylor to stay on Sky, because Serrano and Taylor with a quote-unquote stacked undercard, what's to stop Sky Sports putting that on box office? That's the closest fight she's ever been to being on Sky Sports box office in her whole career. We know Matchroom have been trying to push her towards box office, being the box office headliner, but they haven't quite been able to finish the job. Katie Taylor, if you were her right now, would you stay on DAZN and try and entice Serrano over to DAZN, or would you try and take that fight onto Sky and do it on box office?
Sky, box office, bigger numbers, more people watching, and Sky have got more to offer. Sky have got football, they've got
Exactly.
cricket, they've got rugby, they've got the lot. They've got the lot.
So
But Katie Taylor, might just be quite happy getting paid her money and going back to Ireland. So, that's just,
it is what it is. So I'm just gonna have. No, so I'm just gonna call the mods on somebody because somebody's bringing up Frank. I don't know why they always do bring up Frank Warren. Every time we talk about Matchroom, they always bring up Frank. But what about Frank Warren? So we're talking about Katie Taylor. Obviously, Sky are going to get Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall if they both come through as well. So my point there is as well with Matchroom. Matchroom have done. I will give Eddie Hearn credit, right, for this. Matchroom and Eddie Hearn have done a really good job, right, at giving female boxers, right, a bit of a view on Sky. I will give him credit. I think he's done a really good job at getting. Now, I think, to be honest, not because he's a big fan of women's boxing. I think what he does is he gets women like Shannon Courtney, right? They end up fighting for these Mickey Mouse WBA titles, and then he can use that to say it's a stacked card. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a stacked card. We've got Shannon Courtney defending a world title. So I think he does it to prop up some of the other names. But nevertheless,
remember, I'm going to say something that's going to piss a lot of people off, but a lot of the people that go to watch these shows are from the dart world. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's his name? Who was that? Who did that guy? Oh, I forgot his name. Will Meller. That's the guy.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Oh, do you remember the girl on that?
Yeah.
Do you remember the girl?
Yeah,
what's her name?
Sheridan Smith.
No, the other girl.
Natalie Cassidy. No. Oh, I forgot. It's Natalie something. Oh.
What's her name? The light-skinned girl, mixed race girl.
Louise. Oh, I forgot her name. I'll get it now.
Yeah. I met her in person, and I met her. Really nice girl. I'll leave it as that.
Very good. Yeah. So what were we saying? Yeah, 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps. And but it looks like to me, Sky. I think Eddie Hearn's done a very good job, right? With putting. I mean, do you have to give him credit? Katie Taylor, Delphine Pierce, 1 and 2, great fights for women's boxing. I thought Shannon Courtney, Rachel Ball was a very good fight. I thought Shannon Courtney and Ebony Bridges was a very good fight. So I'll give Eddie Hearn credit there. But to me, like I said, it looks like the 2 biggest fights, right? Certainly that could be made in women's boxing at the moment, could potentially be heading to Sky. Potentially, I think
there's the other girl as well who beat the girl who became world champion. Was it Harper?
Oh, Jesus, yeah, Terry Harper, yeah.
What's going on with her now?
Well, I don't know, actually. That's another good point. We don't know. And that'd be interesting. I mean, to me, like, I wouldn't put her on the same level of those guys. But yeah, why would she? She's got a world title. She wants to maximise that. She's not going to be topping any Sky Sports cards, but you can do her against Katie Taylor. Certainly, you can put her again. And you can put that on a Sky Sports box office undercard. You can do her versus Tasha Jonas again and put that on an undercard. Yeah.
What's going on with Chantel Cameron?
Oh, jeez. I have no idea what's going on there. No idea. We don't know. I have no idea. Generally, Dave Lane saying she broke her hand.
Okay, fair enough.
But listen, I think it's very possible that a lot of these fighters are gonna decide to make the move. To be honest,
I think a lot of fighters are gonna make the jump. Just like they jumped from They made the jump to join Eddie when the going was good. Now the going is not so good. People are not getting fights. They'll do the jump again. People are going to see for the BS. That's what they're basically seeing for the BS. There's only so much you can lie to people and you can kind of trick the public. But the zone was never, and I'll say it again, it was always dead zone. Once you haven't got things like, you can't compare dead zone to Sky. You just can't. You can't. Eddie's trying to make up for the football being taken away from him. Literally, he's been in the playground. He's at the football. And Adam Smith said, mate, Eddie, you're not putting the shows on. We're not putting the quality shows on we want. We're taking this damn ball away from you and we're going to give it to somebody else instead. And Eddie's gone, oh, fair enough. I'll put boxing on in my backyard. Eddie knew he was on his way out. He knew he was on his way out. That's what I think.
Right, well, guys, we're nearly going to end the show. If you guys want to ask any questions to Ingram about boxing or what we've spoken about in general, if you post your question with that hashtag Ask Ingram, then I'll be able to go through the comments and I'll find your question and I'll ask him. So we've got another 5-10 minutes to go. Before I ask you the $1 million question, I'm just going to look through the rest of this stable. Is Jessica McCaskill still with Matchroom, Ingram?
I don't know.
Find that, because there's a lot of fighters who are on Matchroom's website, yeah, who aren't with Matchroom. We'll get onto that in just a sec, guys. If you want to ask the questions, just put hashtag Ask Ingram in there. I can see people putting the questions in, but it's easier for me if you put that hashtag in, or just put the hashtag in. I can see them.
Okay, let's go.
I'll tell you one man who's not there. Hold on, I'll tell you one man who's not. Is this man, Canelo Alvarez? Now, this man, Canelo Alvarez, is not with Eddie Hearn right now. One, because he's a free agent, but two, if you look at that picture, I'm just getting the fight poster for Caleb Plant, yeah, versus Canelo Alvarez, which has just been released today. Obviously, everybody knows that fight's on. All right. As you can see here on the poster, there's no sign. If I'm going to scroll down.
PBC.
There's no sign of Matchroom Boxing anywhere on this poster because Eddie Hearn, unfortunately, isn't involved. Because Al Heyman doesn't want him involved. There you go.
Exactly.
There you go. No, look at the bottom of there. You've got Canelo Promotions. You've got CTB Promotions there for Caleb Plant. You've got Canelo Sponsor and Canelo Sponsors there. No Matchroom branding. No Eddie Hearn at a press conference. Nothing. So yeah.
Lovely.
Why he's on the Matchroom website then? That's a bizarre one. All right, let's go to some of these questions then. People don't want to put the fucking hashtag in because it is what it is. But I reckon I can get through it. Right, let's do this. Ingram, what's your initial thoughts on Terence Crawford versus Sean Porter? That also, by the way, won't be being snapped up by Eddie Hearn. I know he was telling IFL TV. People have a go at me. I'm just reporting the news. He told IFL TV, or he told Michael Benson, or whatever one of his other bum chums, that he was going to make a bid on this. That's what he said. He said, I'm going to make a bid on that fight if it goes to purse bid. And then I have people telling me it's going to be on Dazn. Well, guess what?
I'll ask you a question. How many bids has Eddie Hearn ever won?
Oh my God. Frank Warren beat him 90% of the time, to be honest. And there's big question marks over Frank Warren's bank account, right? Admittedly. But Frank Warren nearly always beats him every time. Beat him for Josh Warren and Kid Galahad.
Oh, dear me.
Who's the guy who Eddie's now crawling up Kid Galahad's ass, telling him how fucking great he is? But fucking Eddie didn't put the money up for him, and Frank got him over to fight Warrington. Right, your initial thoughts on Crawford and Porter?
Good fight. Very good fight. The biggest question for me is if can Crawford control Porter, and this, because he's aggressive and come forward and he's always throwing punches. And the question for me in Porter, how's he improved? Because Porter fights the same way in every fight, and he always, he crowds himself when he throws his punches. I'd like to see him smother himself. I'd like to see Crawford. I'd like to see a more improved Porter. He's fought the same way all his career, and you'd like to think he's made some improvements. He's one of these guys that keeps fighting, is always in the gym, always in shape, but never seems to get any better. He needs to be better against Crawford. And what happens if Crawford switches up on him from orthodox to southpaw? Will Porter be able to make the adjustments? But if he's going to beat Crawford, it's going to be up close and personal. But if he tries to box Crawford, I think Crawford can beat him.
All right, I'll have to have a look at footage. I'm not really comfortable even talking about that. I'll have to have a look at footage. I've never been a big believer in Terence Crawford at welterweight. I think he's really, really hittable. And
but I do. The other thing is, I've never been a big believer in Crawford's chin. I never have. I've always said it, and we're going to find out when he keeps getting hit on it by Porter, because I think it's going to be a great fight. We'll find out whether he is legit number one, because his resume and the guys he's fought since he's come to welterweight has been sketchy, to say the least.
Yes. So, yes. To be fair to him, a lot of that's down to the promoter, who's obviously, having problems working with Al. Right. Shevins is stirring some crap up. He says he's asking you, who's next for AJ if he beats Usyk? I say White, Zhang. Do you remember Zhang? I don't give it on for that.
Yeah.
Do you remember that Chinese heavyweight who Matchroom signed?
Zhang.
I'll try and find his bold ass on his website in a second. Or Hergovich, am I nuts? So Shevin basically...
No chance.
AJ's fighting White, Zhang, or Hergovich next if he beats Usyk.
I don't think he'll touch White. Don't think he'll touch Hergovich. I think he might go and fight Zhang, going to China, make a name for himself. Or even fight Andy Ruiz in a third fight, because Ruiz got dropped in a fight before. So maybe even Ruiz might go and fight again.
Trying to find Zhang, but he's no longer on his website. Let's tell you this now. I think Anthony Joshua would destroy Dillian White in a rematch. That's my opinion. I think Anthony Joshua would. I think if you look at the first fight, AJ really should have got him out there in the first 2 rounds. White was really badly hurt. Do you remember that thing? What White done? White was trying to punch him after the bell. And then that was that whole fracas in the ring, which took about 10, 15 minutes to settle down and allow White time to, get back into the fight. I think these days he fights Anthony Joshua, and Joshua puts lights out real quick. I don't think he's ready for that at all. Joe Wall says, who do you think is the best talent in the country? You can give a couple of names. I can't think of one single name. But when you think about best talents in the country, male and female, who do you think about?
I like Joe Cordina. I like the Dennis McCann. I've got a lot of time for Dennis McCann.
I think Dennis McCann will be a world champion. I think Dennis McCann could be a world champion. Yeah.
Edwards. You got to rate Edwards.
Sonny. Oh, Sonny. Yeah.
I like Ryan Charlton. I really do like Ryan Charlton. And people think he's just because I just like him because he's exciting. And I think he's a knockout puncher. I don't think he should have been at welterweight. I'm excited to see what he does down at lightweight. I'm really excited to see what he does at lightweight. What do you thought? Would Shannon Courtney be on that list at all? You excited to see her again? No.
Okay, right, that's a no.
I heard a story. Conor Ben versus Adrian Broner. I kid you not.
Yeah, well, this has been talked about, but I always thought it's Mickey Mouse stuff. You think that's going to happen?
I'm hearing it could happen strongly.
Let me tell you, if Adrian Broner can, I know we always say the if. People need to remember something about Adrian Broner, right? The guy's a clown, but people need to remember. Adrian Broner got in a ring with Sean Porter and did 12.
Oh, yeah.
Not only did he do 12 with Sean Porter, he knocked him down legitimately in the 12th round. Legit. Like, weren't a slip. Broner knocked down Porter in the 12th. So my question mark is this. If we get the real Adrian Broner who's done 12 with Sean Porter, and Sean Porter's rough, Sean Porter's tumble. Sean Porter fights at a very, very high pace. He's going to close you down. He throws a lot a lot of looping punches. You have to ask a question. It's not like you can say Adrian Broner hasn't seen that style before. Because you know what Conor's going to do? Conor's going to turn up and load up. That's what he does. Conor Ben's going to turn up and he's going to look to load up on him and get him out of there. Adrian Broner's seen that kind of style. Adrian Broner's very, very good at good short, straight shots. Conor Ben wide open down the middle because everything is a right and a left hook that you can see from,
uppercuts.
I don't know. It might be too early. All right, let's have a look. I'm not doing these questions in order, so I've jumped the order, but I'll go back to this. This is quite interesting. Rob Barnett says, why does everyone ignore Felix Cash? He is class.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
England does like Felix Cash. England does like
Good fighter. Good fighter.
Yeah. Listen, he come on Frank Warren's card and he looked levels above Denzel Bentley on that card. He looked levels above Felix Cash.
Good fighter.
Too big, too strong. Yeah, good fighter. Good fighter. Not sure if he's going to be a world champion because of what's going on in that weight, but yeah, he's a very, 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 very top fighter. Richard from Twitter says, which of the current crop of GB Olympians that has turned over do you think will do anything in the pros? And that's the question that I forgot to ask you as well, to be honest. Again,
Fraser Clark.
Fraser Clark. Matchroom have first dibs. Contractually, apparently, Matchroom have first dibs on all the Olympians. Pretty much all of them have an agreement that Matchroom have the first right of refusal on. Some of them have got some kind of agreement. But again, if you're an Olympian, right, and you want to make the most of your exposure, to me, why would you fight on DAZN at the minute where it's got no football and all that lot? To me, you'd rather be on Sky. But you think Fraser Clark, yeah?
Fraser Clark and Daniel Dubois' sister. I'd like to see her.
Yeah, Dave Lane just mentioned that. He said Caroline Dubois. I'm shocked she signed with Sky. I would have thought she would have signed with BT. I think it's good. I think it's probably better for her to be on Sky. But I'm just thinking because of the Daniel Dubois loyalty there. I would have thought she would sign with Frank actually. But listen, I don't think Frank is. I don't think Frank's really interested in women's boxing. I don't think he's ever really done much in female boxing. He hasn't really.
Whoa. Nicola Adams.
Yeah, but I think with Nicola Adams, I think Frank's never really liked women's boxing. I don't think Frank even agrees with it, really. I don't think Frank's ever been a fan of it. I don't think Frank's a big fan of women's boxing, the concept. Nicola Adams is a hard one because, her mum got ill. I had someone come on the other day and say, you ultra, you're an idiot. Look at Frank. He destroyed the career of Nicola Adams. You're an idiot. And Nicola Adams' mum got very, very seriously ill. And her career was never the same after that. Her mum's still ill, obviously. And her career
I used to speak to someone quite regularly, Nicola Adams. She's from Grenada, actually.
Okay.
Her background from Grenada, Nicola Adams. For those people out there who want to know.
Yeah, Grenada. Yeah. You think all black people come from Nigeria? Some of us come from let's have a look. Well, it is what it is. Let's have a look here. Oh, look, Quazim Din's asking you. Listen, I didn't watch the amateur boxers, so I have no idea who these guys are. Quazim Din's saying, if Ben Whittaker signs with Hearn and AJ does, which is looking likely. Do you think he has? Oh, Hearn and AJ. He thinks. Do you think if Ben Whittaker signs with Hearn as his promoter and AJ as his manager, which is looking likely, do you think he has a chance at becoming world champion, or do you think he will be chewed up and spat up like Josh Kelly?
Well, we just look at the two fighters that AJ does manage, which is Lawrence Okoli and Joshua Buatsi. In all the carnage,
and Chisora as of today.
It's Chisora. Is he managed by Chisora?
Chisora today is signed with 258 management.
A bit late in his career for that.
Now management. Go on.
But I think if you look at the careers of Okoli and what's this guy's name? You just mentioned him earlier. Oh my God, the light heavyweight. I forgot his name. That's how much I care. Buatsi, yeah, him. The Buatsi and Okoli. Those two guys. You look at their careers. They haven't been thrown to the wolves. And in all the carnage that happened through Matchroom, you notice that those two guys didn't get beat up and knocked out because I guess AJ's managing them in such a manner that is away from the Eddie Hearn crash and burn scenario. So he's kind of protecting them from that. So I think if Whittaker were to work with Joshua, I think he would get the same sort of opportunities as Buatsi and Okoli. And I think he'll be managed correctly. That's what I think.
Crazy D3 says Hearn might feed Felix Cash to Andrade, and you laugh, but Felix Cash is next to Andrade's next opponent. Guys, who is that? He's going to be fighting someone British next, isn't it? Oh no, was it Felix Cash? It was Felix Cash, but I think there was another British fighter that they were somehow feeding to Andrade.
Hearn was talking about this going to be another British fighter who's going to be in a world title fight, so that's quite possible.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, Andrade, there you go, the superstar in the same stable as Canelo, Billy Joe Saunders, John Ryder, Callum Smith, Canelo, and everybody else. And fighting Luke Keeler.
Well, Felix Cash is good, but he's going to get the shit beaten out of him if he fights Andrade. Simple as that, straight up.
Another Eddie Hearn special here. Lee Selby versus Devin Haney. If you're Devin Haney, actually, no, to be fair, I think Devin Haney's no longer with Matchroom USA. He's a free agent. So let me know. But apparently, Hearn might be promoting this one. Lee Selby versus Devin. And I love Lee Selby and Andrew. Andrew's coming back to boxing, but I don't know how this makes Devin Haney a star, to be honest.
Devin Haney, I don't think Devin Haney's a star. There's a list of guys there that I just think that are talked about a lot, but for me have yet to show me anything. Haney's one. Haney, Garcia, what's the other guy? Boots Innis. They're all guys that look good, but they haven't had that, for me, that gut check. I mean, we saw Haney get hit on the chin once and his leg did a funny dance. And you think to yourself, if Linares really wanted it, he could have put it on Haney and got him out of there. So I don't get any excitement. I wouldn't go home and rush to watch Devin Haney fight. I wouldn't rush to go home and watch Boot Innis fight. I won't rush to go home to watch Ryan Garcia fight. Do you understand? Right. And Teofimo Lopez, he does too much damn talking. I know he's got to sell himself. Too much damn talking, and he needs to fight. So he needs to show me more than just that Lomachenko fight for me to say, yeah, this is the genuine, undisputed champion of the world. He needs to show me more than that because I don't know. I'm not moved. Do you know what I mean? I guess I've been spoiled in boxing. We've had, the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, and then these guys now trying to tell me that 15, 20 years ago, would these guys have been champions or would these guys have been contenders and having to work their way up the ladder? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what. Well,
now Tank is different.
Yeah,
Tank is different because he's actually saying what he's saying and he's putting on devastating performances.
Devastating. Let me ask you something quickly. Just one last thing in before we wrap up with these questions. Mikey Garcia is a name that you just mentioned. He will be fighting with Eddie Hearn next, right? I believe on a possible Dazn USA card. Mikey Garcia, this is a guy who was put in the ring, right, with Errol Spence and the like, right? Look who he's going to be fighting. Do you know who Sandor Martin is? You've heard of that name?
Another one from the Matchroom Renton opponent, Yellow Pages.
Exactly. You've seen him on Matchroom USA cards or Matchroom UK cards before. Mikey Garcia versus Sandor Martin. His box is available here. Let's have a look at the guys he's fought. There you go. He's fought Joe Hughes for Europe. There you go. See, this is one of their Matchroom Spain guys who they like to fly over British guys to get beat up on. So he beat Joe Hughes. He's beaten Andreas Scarpa and the like. Anthony Yigit who was a European level fighter. So Anthony Yigit's not a bad name on that resume. But all of a sudden, Sandor Martin goes from fighting Kay Prospier and then Nestor Maradiga. He'll be on a Matchroom USA card against Mikey Garcia very soon. Let me ask you a question from Dave Lane. He says, who is the best fighter you've been around in the gym that can't do it under the lights, that hasn't performed under the lights?
Harold Graham.
Well, you've been around Harold Graham?
Well, no. In the gym. No. Yeah. In the gym.
Yeah. I'm going to think of a name that begins with an H.
I was about to use that name too as well.
All right. Anybody else?
I've been in the gym with. I don't want to.
Or just been around or interviewed. You don't have to be in the gym, but anyone you've been around, interviewed, know, or just throw out some names if you want.
I think. I hate to use the name, but Hughie Fury.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you. Let me go through some of this stuff. Hold on. Blah 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 blah. Shevin giving Devin Haney a kicker. Oh my gosh, Sonny Singh's got an interesting question because I was going to bring this guy up before. He says, "What about Galal Yafai? Do you think he'll do anything? Hopefully, he gets treated better than his brother Cal Yafai was treated by him."
Yeah. The two guys that always confuse me is Cal Yafai and the other guy. What's his name? Kid Galahad.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
I get confused with those two guys. Right, is it the same guys? Is it two different guys? I don't know, but. It depends on how they're managed, to be honest.
Yeah.
It depends on how they're managed. Because one day, they look really good. I mean, I heard it was a masterclass performance against, what was the guy's name again he fought?
Oh my God.
Dickens, wasn't it?
Listen, I rate Galahad highly. Sorry, Galahad I rate, to be fair to me, people on this channel know, I said from when Kid Galahad was fighting the ITV box office cards about 5-6 years ago, I said, I think this guy's a world champion. I think Galahad's legit. But the Yafai, the Yafai brothers, I was going to comment on how they've been managed because I think the way Cal was managed by Eddie when he was a world champion. Cal was actually one of Britain's longest reigning world champions, right? But Cal couldn't really get a big fight for a very, very long time. And then he was thrown in at the deep end against Roman Gonzalez and he got absolutely obliterated and has never been seen since again. You ever seen Cal Yafai since that fight? Obliterated.
No, I haven't.
Obliterated in that fight. Never been seen since. ABB asks you, word around this has got to be a joke. There you're taking the piss. He says, word around the campfire is that White versus Allen. No, he's lying. He's White versus Allen. But you know what it was? You threw me because when you said White versus Marco Oak, I thought, what is going on here? White versus Allen 2. I tell you what will be happening in Ingram. You will be seeing Dave Allen on a Dazn card shortly. I guarantee he's going to end up as cannon fodder for Alan Babbage. 100%. You can see that fight coming right off, innit?
You can see it coming. Yeah, you can see it. You can see it.
Jesus Christ. I think Adam, get him out.
Adam Babbage is one of those guys. I think he's like a firework. Sit back and let it explode. But the longevity of Alan Babbage is I think he's a novelty. And
absolutely.
And it's only with him. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Oh yeah.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, definitely a firework in that it's pretty explosive and shines bright for the first couple of seconds, and then after that,
you know what Alan Babbage sort of reminds me of in terms of novelty, Butterbean. Listen, because Butterbean was the king of the 4 rounds, as you remember. He'd go out there, he'd steamroll guys and knock guys out, and people enjoyed that. And Babbage has got that same sort of style where he just rushes out there and throws a whole heap of punches at you with no kind of care about punches coming back at him and no sort of care about defense. Just looks to steam in there. So it's a bit of a novelty. And at a certain level, that works. But this is boxing, not caveman fighting. And when you meet a guy who's got a good jab, can move his way around the ring. I mean, that Mark Bennett showed us that, he threw a few good punches back at Babbage. But if Mark Bennett had a bit more stamina and a bit more punching power, we might be looking at a different fight altogether. So
Just to say, so we also forgot, by the way, another opponent for Devin Haney. This is what I was trying to remember. It's Maxie Hughes.
Maxie Hughes.
Oh
God. Actually, listen, that Maxie Hughes, I like him. I like Maxie Hughes.
Okay.
He's got some nice little moves up and down, use jab to the body, nice head movement. He slips punches, comes back with shots. He's got something going on there, Maxie Hughes. But Devin Haney, no. But he's got something going on there, Maxie Hughes. I like what I saw of Maxie Hughes, but I just think there's a time and a place for a guy like that. Yeah. And against Devin Haney, it's not on.
It's not time and place. I mean, the guy's gone from fighting on undercards on Dave Colwell promotions to then fighting. Think about this.
What about if Hearn's trying to get out of boxing like they got out of boxing before and just get as many guys off their books as soon as possible by getting them all knocked out and getting them beat? So, they get themselves projected to be out of boxing by a certain amount of time. And that would be a strategy for that.
My opinion on it, I disagree with that. I think my opinion on it's always been the same. I think that Eddie Hearn is a guy who, listen, he's a very, very good promoter. I think in terms of promoting, I don't think he promotes fighters. I think the trick to Eddie Hearn, and I think, Sharon said my mic's off, but can everybody hear me? Can you hear me, Ingram?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so my mic's cool. Okay. So I think one of the downfalls there, with Eddie, and I've completely lost. What was I just saying? I completely lost my track of thought. Sorry.
You talk about Eddie Hearn and the trick about Eddie Hearn and promoting, not fighters, but
and I think that's going to be his downfall. I think his downfall is the following, right? I think he's done in terms of outright salesman. He's probably the best outright salesman I've ever seen. The only one I can ever compare in terms of outright salesman to Eddie Hearn is probably someone like Don King,
David Hay.
David A definitely up there, but for all the fucking wrong reasons. But I think he's undoing.
David Hay for Prime Minister.
No, definitely. I think the reason why we're seeing, I think the real reason why we are seeing the beginning of the decline and possibly the end of Matchroom as a force, it's going to take years to happen, but I think we are seeing the end is because I think the problem is that he promotes himself and he hasn't promoted the fighters. And like I said before, we've been down that road a million times, but I think that was basically the end of it. And I think he believes he's a guy who has a lot of strengths, but I believe Eddie Hearn's biggest weakness, right, is that he believes in his own hype. Like he genuinely, some people, right? Some people, they get people blowing smoke up their ass. And they know, this guy's full of shit. Like, whenever I have people on this channel tell me how great I am, I know those people are going to turn on me. Like, literally next week, those people. I used to love your channel, but I hate it now. And it'd be the same people that are sending me hate mail, right? I had one guy who come on this channel and say how much he likes the show, and then he ran off on another channel and said that I wasn't black, I was lying about the color of my skin, and that I'm really a white guy. Then the other day he was back on my channel. He's back on this channel now saying, I'm this and that about me, and he won't stop watching. But he used to like me. So I always take that with a pinch of salt. But I don't think Eddie Hearn does take it with a pinch of salt. I believe honestly he's a classic A1 narcissist. No disrespect, but I think he's a genuine narcissist. Like genuinely, I genuinely believe he is a narcissist, and I genuinely believe that when people go to him and say things like Eddie's taking off your box, Eddie's taking over boxing, Eddie's taking over the world, which when you look at the facts, when you step away, from a view, and you actually look at what's going on with Matchroom USA, you look at the stable at Matchroom right now, which is looking pretty dry right now. You look at the fighters that are leaving and going with Sky, possibly including Anthony Joshua. You can see it's quite clear he's not taking over boxing. But I think Eddie Hearn's a guy who believes his own hype, and that will be his own downfall. Let me ask you quickly about this David Hay thing. Do you know there are people who are actually taking David Hay seriously? David Hay, the King Finesse is what I now call David Hay. King Finesse. People actually believe that he's serious about fighting Tyson Fury.
David Hay, I love David. David will do anything for a quick buck. That's what's quite clear. But now his standard is very high. He says, but I noticed he never mentioned anything about Deontay Wilder.
Well, I don't think he knows. I think David's playing games. To be honest. To be fair to David Hay, I will say this. We've all seen the videos. When Hay was in camp for Fury the second time around, he had Richard Towers, who actually used to listen to this show before we had a few problems there, but Richard Towers was a listener. Richard Towers, he had Deontay Wilder, and he had a couple of other guys. Can't remember the other guy he had in camp.
I remember.
And they were fucking throwing bombs, and you can see, hey, rocked Wilder hard. And Wilder, to be fair, rocked him. He said it as well. Wilder's the hardest punching fighter he's ever been in with. So, hey, you know,
I believe
in his prime, I think he'd go with anybody if he could.
I believe Wilder knocked Hay out in sparring. I said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll keep on saying it. And when I did say when I mentioned it, that's why the fight never happened. I believe Wilder did serious damage to Hay. And that videotape you saw of him doing what he did to Wilder, those are clips that was put together very nicely to make Hay look very good.
I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with definitely the clips were put together. They were in a run-up for his fight. He was definitely trying to get himself over. All right. Right, Ingram. I think that's it for today. Any closing thoughts?
Not really. Apart from if anybody wants to watch some boxing on our channel now, we did about 6 hours of boxing from in Africa, and they were doing from exhibition bouts right through to professional bouts. So, and anybody watch that and see the talent that's coming through in Africa. Some very young guys playing boxing, and then some mature boxing as well. Check it out as well on BW10 Sports.
Sorry, just forced to turn the sound down. Yeah, I've got the channel up here, and I'll put a link.
Yeah,
to
if you go across the videos,
1 sec. Yeah,
click videos, and it should have. If you go down, let me see if it's there. Go down. It should be. There we go. The Fellow Champ boxing show.
Cool.
So that was filmed. That was in Nigeria actually. That was filmed.
There you go. So we know.
So
the Matchroom fanboys will definitely be watching this because that's the home of you know who.
Oh, there you go. See, actually, and then you see you've got the little ones boxing first, and then afterwards you've got obviously the adults boxing later. But it's good to see exhibition bouts in their right and proper form, and then you get the professional bouts later on in the show. So yeah,
there we go. All right, Ingram. Well, I'm off to go and watch a bunch of Anthony Joshua film footage, and yeah, we'll see you again. Probably, hopefully, for a pre-fight prediction. We're going to do a pre-fight prediction show, so we'll probably get you on to do that if you can, and then of course the post. So we'll see. And
by the way, congratulations to Vlad Tsarenko, first round knockout over Alexander Ustinov.
Oh, Ustinov, not bad.
Knocked him out in 1 round.
Still trained by your man Bashir.
James Ali Bashir. Yep.
Okay, there you go. All right, there you go. Ingram, a pleasure as always.
Pleasure.
All right.
Thank you so much.
See you soon, buddy.
See you soon,
All
the best, champ.
All right, guys.
Bye-bye.
Guys, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe before you go. Hopefully, if we're still around in the next couple of days, it's the road to Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. We are planning to go in. We've got Ingram. We've got Riku. And we've got an amateur boxer, who some of you will very, very skilled amateur boxer. My man London, who hates my guts, but we'll be bringing him onto the show. Those of you who watched our live shows on Saturday night will know who this guy is. We've got a few people coming in. He's won Golden Gloves. Okay, so this guy's a serious amateur boxer. He's won Golden Gloves titles, looking to turn pro. A very, very talented fighter. He'll be in the ring. We'll be having a discussion about Orthodox versus Southpaw. Remember, a lot of these other channels are going to go in and talk a bunch of bollocks about you know what. All I can tell you is this, yeah? On this channel, I get people who either know about being in the ring or who've actually been in the fucking ring. That's the difference, all right? We've got the AMRAPs to prove it. We've got the gloves to prove it. I've got a punch bag in my living room. We really be about the sport, not just talking the sport. So fingers crossed if we're still up. Get ready because the road to Joshua versus Usyk starts now. Peace out.